So the way we typically work is, like for instance, last year, 2011, we wrote about 22 songs, and we've just started making a new album. And on that album, we'll probably have around about 12 songs. So that leaves us with 10 songs sitting around. And some of them, we might give one or two of them away. But what we'll tend to do with them is probably put them on B-sides. And it's quite exciting knowing that over the period the album's coming out, you've got these songs that you can go back to and work on. They're probably musically maybe slightly more eclectic than the tracks on the album. They might have slightly stranger lyrics, even sort of arcane themes that people, if you put on the main album, people just wouldn't understand. And the great thing about the kind of bonus track or B-side thing is you actually don't really necessarily care. You're taking risks that you wouldn't, to an extent that you wouldn't on the main album.
Well, I mean, I love After the Event. I don't know what the A-side was. I don't know if it was better than it or not.
The A-side was Did You See Me Coming?
Did you see me coming? Yeah.
I think there's a song called I Didn't Get Where I Am Today, which was originally on the album release, and actually we took it off because we decided it was too sort of jolly for the mood of the album. It's a very catchy pop song, and it's an unusual style for us. It sounds a bit 60s, and I could always have imagined it on the radio.
We have been playing Sexy Northerner on the previous tour to this, the one we've just finished, and I love playing that. Actually, I'd like to play a lot of these songs live, really, because maybe we should just do a B-sides tour, I don't know. We've got 2 albums worth.
The Truck Driver and His Mate, which is the first track on the album, years ago we did a season at the Savoy Theatre in London, and we played The Truck Driver and His Mate. I think it's funny that the 2 we played live are The Truck Driver's Mate and Sexy Northerner, and they're actually both basically rock tracks, a very unusual style for us. But consequently, we think they sound really good live.
I think we've done We're the Pet Shop Boys.
Good point, we did, yeah.
Which ironically isn't by us.
We did it as the first song on some dates on the Fundamental tour, because we, of course, are the Pet Shop Boys.
7-inch vinyl, because it's how I remember buying records when I was young, so it has a romance to it, and also it's just the right size. I even like those ones with the no holding, the ones that you were for jukeboxes, and you used to have to put your own bit of plastic in. I'm going back a long way now, I don't remember that, but
that's when the B-side is the B-side. You actually turn the record over. I do think, though, that the 4-track CD single, like I think we did for Did You See Me Coming, Chris was talking about After the Event before, is really nice because it's like a mini album then. Well, actually, the funny thing is, in the digital age, in terms of the record company asking you for new tracks, they ask you for more new tracks for digital packages. And if you're releasing a single as a CD single and a 7-inch single and digital bundles, the demand for tracks is, they could take as many as you've got. And so, I mean, whereas originally, like West End Girls had 1 B-side, Did You See Me Coming had 3 B-sides and mixes. So I think the reverse is the case, that digital is encouraging it. For me, the most personal song on the album wasn't written as a personal song, and it's the song No Time for Tears, which actually wasn't written as a B-side. It was part of the soundtrack we wrote for Battleship Potemkin. And when my father died a few years ago, we played that at his funeral because my family thought we should play a song with me singing. And he liked that whole piece of music, Battleship Potemkin. And so that's actually become a very personal song for me.
quite early on you can sometimes tell that it's not going to be a single or even an album track. You can just think, well, this is an obvious B-side, like Truck Driver and His Mate. It's never going to be a single. So yeah, and then when you realise that, you know, it just goes off in a different direction maybe. But no, I mean, we start off with everything with the intention of it being really good. It just depends how it goes or what it's about or stylistically what it is.
I think we probably have a tendency not to put the tracks we would think are more experimental on the main album. That's not always the case, but we always seem to be making a pop album.
Also, you might end up with too many down-tempo tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, we always had this idea that it'd be quite nice to do a whole album of down-tempo, miserable stuff, you know, and
that's what the new album is going to be.
It's going to be that, and then when you realise that actually even we don't want to listen to that. So
and sometimes they can be too poppy. The last track on this album, although in fact it was done specifically as a B-side, but the track was floating around. It's it's called Up and Down, and it's almost too poppy.
Well, Blue on Blue's pretty good. And what's the one that's based on Nirvana? What's that one? Oh, Party Song. Quite like that one. That's based on the hook of Teen Spirit. Although you wouldn't tell, but and I like the way it goes into That's the Way.
I think my favourite is the first track on the second CD. It's called Always, which we wrote right at the end of when we did the release album about 10 years ago. This was the last song we wrote, and in fact we'd finished the album, so this became a B-side. If we'd written it 3 months earlier, I think it would be on the album. And it's just very, very beautiful and very I like the mood of it and the fact that it's so electronic. And also it really expresses the end of summer, which is a great theme for pop songs. And that's what it's about. I think we are very prolific songwriters, and we relish the fact that the process of releasing a single and needing extra tracks, which are really needed for marketing purposes, not for artistic purposes. I think we relish the fact that we can use that to put out more songs. There is definitely something in our heads that makes us feel more free when we don't even imagine that the record company will even listen to these songs. It's like it's a conspiracy between us and the fans, and there's something very direct about that communication that's quite liberating as well. And then when you listen through, when we compiled this album, which has got 38 songs, and you get all the original mixes out and remastered and all the rest of it, and check through the whole thing. It's, I think, an impressive collection of songs with many different styles and a lot of really, I think, top-notch songs. I think there's, again, an assumption with B-sides that it's not quite as good. But what you really feel is that they are as good, they're just different in a lot of times. And there's something really, really fascinating about the whole collection. And also there's another thing, is that we often tend to be influenced by what's happening in contemporary pop music. And so some of it is, in some ways, is a history of pop music from 1996 to 2010, wherever it is. Because you can hear, the Truck Driver's Mate is actually a take on Oasis, really, who, when we wrote that, were at their height. And as you go through the album, you can hear quite a few contemporary influences.